by the military-industrial complex.
It could be seen to move violently forward, violently forward, violently forward.
I'm just a patsy. Let's win there.
I said this once or twice, but it bears repeating. If you like your current insurance, you will keep your current insurance.
You think about the Army and the Navy and the missions they run to protect the world, they run on SAP.
Well, you have done a really spectacular job. I guess pretty much everybody at this table is your customer, so
Exactly.
that's not so bad.
Exactly.
So I want to congratulate
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Oops, and I'm back. I hope you guys can hear me. So let me know in the chat whether or not you can hear me. Because I don't have headphones and I don't have a producer, and I'm doing this on my own. From an Airbnb in San Diego, California, where 5x5. Thank you, Cindy. San Diego, California, where I rented a place for a month while I try to figure out how to put the rest of my life back together. The background that you see here is the neighborhood that I used to live in that no longer exists. This is the apartment building that I lived in that doesn't exist. That house is gone, and all those houses are gone. This street is gone. Everything is gone. It's Hiroshima. Let's just call it Hiroshima. So, anyway, let's start with an update on George Webb. So with that, I think I can present his last video that he posted on Twitter. So we'll start with that. Here we go. I'll share this. And I will roll the video. And again, I need you to let me know whether or not you can hear the audio. So here we go.
Well, hello, everybody. George Webb, day 4 since the Brennan sleeper agent. You read all about it, georgewebb.substack.com. You read about it for the last 8 years. But one of the key things we've said over the last 2 years since the Ukraine war started was, I think we know what this is, Kolomoisky getting all the money. Kolomoisky getting all the money since 2014, actually. We didn't start saying that till 2019. But why? Put it all in NATO. Then they'd have NATO dump it into a proxy that had no rules, no oversight, could use it as a slush fund for anything they wanted. A very small cabal to use a very large power of missiles, you name it, military vehicles, jets, etc., as well as cash, mostly cash, to do whatever they want anywhere.
All right, I'm going to cut this off because, he's talking about Kolomoisky, and you can go and go to Real George Webb on Twitter, and you can find out what he's talking about, Kolomoisky. What most of you are probably noticing is that he's in a hospital bed and he's on oxygen. So George has been struggling with his health the last couple of days. I have been part of a group of several people who helped get him the best care humanly possible. He's in a great place. The people who are taking care of him are the best people in the world. And so nobody should worry that bad things are going to happen to George in the hospital. Nobody should be worrying about the technicalities of his care. He's got the best people who care the most about him, taking care of him. And I think that what he needs more than anything else is he needs your prayers. So if you can give George your prayers, that would be great. He sounds much better today than he sounded yesterday or the day before. So I think he's on the mend. That's my jaded, one-sided, biased opinion. It's not medical. I'm not getting that from a doctor. He just sounds better to me than he did yesterday or the day before. So with that, I would just urge everybody to give George his prayers. I know that I haven't been posting very much lately. I think that the last thing that I posted is pretty important, though, the Castle Keep story that I posted on Substack. And for some reason, the news aggregator is broken on the Duke Report. I don't know what's wrong with it. And I'm also not in a position to be able to fix it right now. So if you go to thedukephoto.com, if you're looking for a book or something like that, I'm sorry, but it's going to just redirect you to the Substack because I don't have the wherewithal to be able to get it fixed right now. Like I said, I'm living in an Airbnb. Since my apartment burned down, I was living in Redondo Beach and then Newport Beach and then Oxnard. And now I'm in San Diego for the month. And I'm trying to find a new place to live. I don't know where to live. I started looking at apartments in earnest yesterday, and I'm quite depressed because one of the things that, and it's part of the reason that I wanted to put this picture up, I live in this apartment building, okay, that was built in 1924. And because of the zoning laws in Los Angeles and because of my domain experience and understanding the Palisades the way that I did, I knew that this building was here. So 15 years ago, when I went to get divorced, I went and I found an apartment in this apartment building knowing that it couldn't be knocked down. And it was like in the nicest neighborhood in the world. And it might've been a 500 square foot apartment, but it had a $6 million front yard. And many of you came and visited me, barbecued in my backyard, and understand that the special place that it was. And it's gone. It's been wiped off the map. So people were sending me emails saying that they were thinking about coming down and living in a motorhome and pulling up outside of where I used to live. It's like Hiroshima. Okay. When I say that, I'm not being hyperbolic. Okay, this is not me like I think there was a flood. Where was that flood video that somebody, if I hit back, maybe I can find the flood video. And give me 1 second. I'm sorry, I'm flying by the seat of my pants here. In any case, somebody in the chat will give me a link to the there's a video of the flood of toxic sludge, because all these buildings burned down and it started raining yesterday. And when it started raining, all of the toxic stuff that was left over, you can see the slant of the street here goes down to the ocean. And there was like a foot deep. Here, I've got my my green screen thing on, so it's not. If I put my hands up, you can't see them if they're here. So it's got 12 inches of sludge came out of the Palisades yesterday. What happened to the presentation in the lighthouse? It was a good presentation, but you know what? I was putting it together at the last moment. So I'm going to do it over again. And I'm going to do it over again for you right now today. So here are my plans. One was I wanted to let you know how George is doing. Two, I need prayers for my wife, because George is not the only person in the hospital. My wife is again in the hospital, which is, again, our house burns down. George is in the hospital. My wife is in the hospital, and one of my best friends in the world flew out from the East Coast to babysit me because my wife was in the hospital, and he was fantastic. But he got PTSD just from being around me, just from the stress of what's going on around my life. So part of the way I'm dealing with it is I'm looking at this little green light right now, and I'm talking to you about what's going on. And so, on the last day that my friend was here, we drove from Oxnard down to Santa Monica, and we drove through Malibu. And that was when that's when it really hit him, what happened here. Because Malibu also, for the most part, looks like Hiroshima. I have a friend who has a really nice house in Malibu, and her house did not burn down. But I was talking to her on the phone yesterday, and it takes her, even though the electricity is back on and the water is back on, because there's only one road in and out of Malibu now, which is Canaan Road, which doesn't lead to any place on the coast. It only leads back into Agoura, which is over the Santa Monica Mountains behind Malibu. It takes an hour and a half to get out of Malibu to go anywhere. And then it takes an hour and a half to get back into Malibu once you've run an errand, So Malibu is completely a disaster right now. And the Pacific Palisades, I'm like I said, I've been looking at apartments and stuff, Santa Monica, West Los Angeles, places like that. Besides the fact that the rent is, it's not double, but it's almost double what I was paying for something that's the equivalent square footage. There's nothing close to the neighborhood that I lived in. Like there never will be. There never will be ever again. And so I kind of have to mourn that a little bit. And I don't know what else to do. So George is in the hospital. Jessica is in the hospital. My friend who came out here has PTSD, who helped me. And I'm in San Diego trying to figure out where I'm going to live. With that, I want to say that last Tuesday, which was the last time I saw George in person, and he was not feeling well. He was sick to the point where he couldn't make the presentation at the Lighthouse Church in Santa Monica that I'm about to make now. So, and when I made that presentation, I was still a little delirious. And so I tried to fix it. I was a little embarrassed because there were slides that I wanted to show. There was things that I wanted to show. There was things I wanted to talk about. And I didn't really have the time to be able to do it. And so I'm going to try to do that now. I'm going to try to do this like Lauren Brown style. I have a presentation put together, and I named this the Jose Medina ATF Cui Bono brief, because I believe that if you're trying to find out what actually happened, ATF, maybe you need some help from the FBI or maybe Homeland Security. So if there's anybody at the FBI or Homeland Security is also interested in who possibly the suspects could be in this arson, this video is for you. And so with that, I think I will see if there's any questions. I'm just going to look at Rumble. Hang on a second, because I don't have Jessica to manage the. I have to put this on pause, and I don't see any live chat. Okay, on Rumble, which is it's not usual that I don't have anyone. But anyway, here we go. But I gave people choices. I gave people choices of YouTube and Twitter, so maybe people are annoyed by the advertisements on Rumble. So with that, let me try to figure out whether or not I can share this, or how I'm going to share this. The one thing that I'm unsure of right now is audio. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit play, and then the problem is that if I run show the navigator, Apple, I'm trying to figure out a way to get Apple and StreamYard to play together nicely. So if I hit play on my keynote, and I don't want my navigator to be full screen. So maybe I have to go into settings for keynote and make sure that navigator is not full screen. Let's see, show pointers only on slides. Scale the slideshow to fit the display. Oh, enable the presenter display in full screen. Now let me try it.
If you do look at the oil, and you
Okay. I apologize. I probably should have figured out this before I started the show today. So what I'm trying to do, and maybe somebody in the chat knows, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to launch Keynote, but when I hit play in Keynote, it goes to full screen on what they call the, okay, where did it go?
if
Professional show business, folks. Okay, let's call an audible, Peter, and figure out a way to do this not in full screen. Apple has been kind of like the bane of my existence. Scale slideshow to fit into the display. Show the presenter display in other applications. Show the slideshow controls. Okay, let me try this again. And I've lost my... Okay, so here's the problem. I can't show the slideshow, Apple, and see my screen for StreamYard at the same time because of something wrong with my settings. So Keynote, settings. I know that this is not an entertaining presentation right now, and I apologize. I'm trying to figure this out. Here, maybe if I share this screen with people. La-di-da. Enable presenter display in full screen. I'm apologizing, but that's not fixing things or making things more entertaining. Okay. New slide, clock, current slide, customize presenter display. How about I don't want, well, let me try this. You guys, I'm in my display right now. Can you guys see the first slide of my slideshow right now? I'm going to exit this, and then I'm going to ask you that question. Okay, now I'm back in StreamYard. Probably not. All right, so here's what I have to do. Here's what I have to do. But I don't have a way to. I don't have a way of monitoring what I'm doing. Apple, okay? I thought of another idea. They have this weird thing where Apple says that you can move. Let me see. Move and resize to the right. Okay, now I've got StreamYard on the right. Let's see if this works. Now let me make this and my view. Okay, window, move and resize to the left. Okay, great. Now I have StreamYard on the right. I have Keynote on the left. And now if I hit play, then Apple fucks me. Let me go off on a rant about Apple. Part of the reason that my wife is so stressed out at me is because on the morning of the 7th, we were trying to cut a video of the Super Scoopers fighting the fire. And it took us almost an hour to figure out how to get a video off of Jessica's phone using AirDrop to my computer, okay, on the same network at the full resolution. Couldn't do it. Tim Cook, you cost me dearly. You cost me dearly. Likewise, getting iPhoto, what used to be called iPhoto, which is now called Photo, which is a ridiculous non-search engine optimized way of branding an app. Getting those things to sync between your phone and your computer, which used to be completely like a simple thing to do, is now something that takes an hour of watching YouTube videos in order to figure out how to do it. Anyway, stop using gay ass Apple products. Yeah, go to hell. Anyway, it's not any better in Windows, and it's not any better in Linux. Okay, it's all a confusopoly. But anyway, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to share a screen, and the screen I am going to share is my monitor on the left here. Let me clean this up for a second. Here we go. Got some things on the desktop. I'll get rid of that. And now I'm going to share a screen. And the screen I'm going to share is this. Okay. And did it say share audio too? All right, take it away. Wait, remove, stop, do it again, share screen. Always also share the tab audio. Yes, that's on. Okay, here we go. And actually, let's start with Jose Medina brief. Let's start with ATF. Let's start right here. This will be easy. This will be easier than the keynote, which is a nightmare. All right, so I'm going to share this. This is Jose Medina, and I need to make sure that the audio is set correctly. And you guys will give me a thumbs up if you can hear this. This is Jose Medina from the ATF. And I'm going to...
Good afternoon. My name is Jose Medina, Medina, and I'm the acting special agent in charge of the LA Field Division. I would first like to send my condolences to all the Angelenos during this tragic time. These wildfires have caused immeasurable heartbreak and incomprehensible losses. As many of you already know, due to the size and scope of the Pacific Palisades fire, ATF was requested to lead the origin and cause investigation alongside our partners. ATF possesses unparalleled expertise in determining the origin and cause of fires, even under the most complex and challenging conditions. ATF had certified fire investigators on scene, providing initial assessment on Friday. During that survey, we determined we would bring out an additional expertise. We activated ATF's National Response Team, which we refer to as the NRT. This is the 7th NRT activation this fiscal year and the 927th time since the program began in 1978. The NRT offers a comprehensive set of resources for fire investigations, including certified fire investigators, chemists, electrical engineers, accelerant detection canines, and state-of-the-art fire research laboratories. The NRT is comprised of 3 regional components, organized geographically to cover the United States. The team provides an immediate and sustained nationwide response capability, deploying within 24 hours of notification. Approximately 20 individuals arrived from around the country over the weekend. In addition, we have 10 additional agents from ATF's Los Angeles Field Division dedicated to this investigation. The NRT is also supported by ATF's intelligence research specialists, digital media specialists, and other technical experts within ATF. The NRT also has individuals who possess wildland fire investigator certifications. Yesterday morning, we had our initial in-briefing and began collaborating with our partners from LAPD, LA Fire, CAL FIRE, U.S. Forest Service, and the U.S. Attorney's Office, along with the District Attorney's Office. Within ATF personnel and our partners, together there are about 75 dedicated personnel. The NRT started by breaking investigators down into 2 components, a group that processes the scene and a group that follows investigative leads. The team processing the scene went out yesterday and was out there again this morning at 8 a.m. The team processing the leads has been gathering video and photos from residences in the area, as well as video and photos from social media, along with conducting critical interviews of witnesses and first responders. We are going through all the 911 calls and talking and interviewing residents. Daily, the components come back together in the evening to share information and ensure investigative continuity. All of this is going to take time. We know everyone wants answers, and the community deserves answers. ATF will give you those answers, but it'll be once we complete a thorough investigation. We have no timeline on when this will occur. There have been many theories floating around in the media, and I won't get into those because they are all theories at this time. ATF and the NRT and our investigative partners need to remain objective, follow the scientific method, and follow systematic approach to this wildfire investigation. We are following all the leads and processing all the physical evidence. ATF is determined to leverage every available resource to deliver a thorough and transparent investigation. When we have more information, we will provide you those facts. If you, the public, have any information to provide regarding the Pacific Palisades fire, please submit tips by texting the code ATFLA to 63975. And then follow the link to create a report. Tips can remain anonymous. Thank you.
All right. So here's what I'm going to try. Because wait a second. What is that? Thank you, Fox News. Okay. Gonna get rid of that. All right, so we've seen Jose Medina. All right, so I'm gonna try. I can't see StreamYard at the same time that I am showing the slides. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you a slide, and then I'm gonna show you a video. Then I'm gonna pop out of my presentation, and I'm gonna check the comments to make sure that you guys are getting all of this. And then I'm going to just have to pop out of the slideshow whenever I want to go look at comments, but I'm not going to be able to do both at the same time. So here we go. Okay, so I'm going to show you a slide, and then I'm going to show you a video of it, of George. Here we go. So first I have to share the screen, because if I don't share the screen, you won't see it. All right. And there we go. And then I'm going to show you a slide and the video. And the reason I'm showing you the video is because I want to make sure that you hear the audio. So here we go. Peter is going to disappear from his ability to see. You'll still see me. I just won't be able to see you. So here we go. So copyright disclaimer. This is I'm using a lot of copyrighted material here, and I'm claiming fair use.
If you do look at the oil and you do look at the pipelines, you will understand the news and you will be right. Always, 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 right? If you choose to follow the bouncing ball, if you choose to follow the cat and the laser pointer, they will move that laser pointer faster than you can move as a cat. No matter how fast you are as a cat, the Woolseys of the world can move the laser pointer faster and they can make you look ridiculous, right? But if you know who has the laser pointer and you slap the laser pointer out of their hand, it changes the game. So that's the key here, right? It's understanding the game so you can be smarter than the game, right?
All right. So did you guys see the first slide and did you hear the video? I'm checking the comments right now. Yes, no, maybe so. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Yes, okay, great. Thank you, Michael Charlie. All right, so I'm going to move on, and I'm going to just give the presentation, and I will stop occasionally to see if there's any questions. So give me put a cue at the beginning of what your comment is, so that when I come back, I can see if there's questions. And I think I can only see YouTube and Twitter right now. I can see Rumble, maybe. All right, here we go. I'm going back to the presentation. Here we go. Present. Oop, wait, no, I meant to do this. Here we go. All right, next slide.
Yep.
All right, so this was New Year's Day. This went up on 2025. This is the Bluffs at the Palisades, and this was my idyllic, perfect life. My wife and I were very happy. There were lots of people who were out and about. The weather was nice and beautiful. I lived in this neighborhood here. You can see there's a pin there. I lived at 333 Swarthmore, which was an apartment building built in 1924 that was completely surrounded by, 10 and $20 million, actually not, maybe 16. You can see 321. That was a double lot house. My guess is it was probably 14,000 square feet, double basement, relatively new. Many of the houses were relatively new. And in fact, you could see a new house that's under construction directly across the street in this picture. This is what the same block looked like after the fire. Boom. So before, after, before, after. There's nothing there. Okay, this is Hiroshima, right? When I say Hiroshima, this is what I mean, Hiroshima. There's nothing there. It's gone. You can see in the upper right-hand corner, what does that say? 415. I don't know what address that is. That house looks like it has a brand new roof. And that was that weird house that you couldn't really see from the street. It's got a long driveway. And so maybe there was some celebrity compound. I'm not sure who lived there. Anyway, this is a farther up view. I've gone up in altitude a little bit. This is before, this is after. This is before, this is after. And one of the things that you may notice in the lower right-hand corner of this image is that there's two pins. And one of the pins is right here, and it's the Occidental Petroleum Slant Drilling Rig Site. And the reason that I bring this up is because what many people don't know is that the Pacific Palisades sits on at least 60 million barrels of oil, and I'll talk about that here in a second. Next to it, curiously enough, was a water tank that the British, assumably British, street artist named Banksy once painted he just put some words on the side of it that said, "This looks a bit like an elephant." And that water tank was also to serve that same drilling rig site. So these are things that we need to, again, if I had advice to Special Agent Medina, these are things that George Webb would describe as University of Miami of Ohio Business School 3x5 cards. These would be things that you would be writing 3x5 cards and putting them up on the corkboard and then connecting them together with colored pieces of yarn. So I would make a card that says Occidental Petroleum Slant Rig Site, okay, and Banksy's elephant, because I don't understand the correlation there. Okay, so what a lot of people don't know is that Occidental Petroleum established the oil-bearing sand in the Palisades area to an average thickness of 500 feet and extend over 600 acres, potentially containing a minimum of 25 million barrels of oil and a maximum of 60 million barrels. I have friends in the oil business in Houston who say that number could be much, much higher than that. Okay, that this is a very conservative estimate. Occidental planned to drill up to 60 oil and gas wells in 2 acres of the area. Additionally, a geologist, Theodore Baer, suggested the offshore area near the Palisades drill site may contain more than 50 million barrels of oil. Occidental officials estimated that the Palisades field also holds 120 billion cubic feet of natural gas. The dispute over the oil drilling in the Pacific Palisades apparently ended with voters approving Proposition O in 1988, repealing the ordinances that would have allowed Occidental to drill. Despite facing opposition and having a drilling project rejected by voters in 1988 via a Proposition O, Occidental Petroleum Corporation has demonstrated its tenaciousness by indicating its intent to file suit and continue to pursue the case with both the Coastal Commission and the courts. Moreover, the fact that Occidental persisted in seeking permission to drill for over 20 years since acquiring the land rights shows the company's determination in accessing the 25 to 60 million barrels of oil potentially contained in the Palisades area. Now, what's really interesting about this to me is that the ballot initiative called Proposition O was started in the Pacific Palisades by residents of the Pacific Palisades. Residents of the Pacific Palisades in the neighborhood that I just showed you that burned down, organized in the 1980s, put together an organization called No Oil, and they successfully defeated Occidental Petroleum. So you could have knocked me over with a feather when 2 days ago I noticed that Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway's, Buffett's Berkshire adds to stake in Occidental Petroleum with a new $36 million purchase. This is 2 days ago. Okay, so there's oil under the Palisades. The Palisades burned down, and now Warren Buffett is buying Occidental Petroleum. Okay, I'm forgetting the name of. I'm gonna jump out of I'm going to jump out of the slide deck for a second and go look at the comments to see if there's any comments. And are you guys getting this? Are you hearing me? Are you seeing the slides? Somebody give me a thumbs up. Martinez, is that his name? Is that the special agent's name? Go see, because I'm spacing. Jose Medina, not Martinez, Medina. So Agent Medina, you need a let me see how do I put this back up. Okay, do this. Okay, I'm seeing thumbs up. Thank you. So Agent Medina, I want you to add an Occidental Petroleum card to your bulletin board. And if you're using, maybe you're using Palantir. So maybe you create a card for Palantir and add Warren Buffett. And oh yeah, send an agent over to ask Warren Buffett what the information that he had was that made him think that Occidental Petroleum was a buy, because I'd be very interested in knowing what that is. All right, moving on. I'm going to jump back in time a little bit just so that you guys understand a little bit about what we're looking at. This is the main drag that ran through my neighborhood. This was called Via de la Paz. And the Palisades was founded by a bunch of Methodists who got together and bought the land in the Palisades. And this is the main drag that ran down the street. The road that goes from left to right at the time was named Beverly, and currently it's called Sunset Boulevard. But if you went all the way down to the end of Via de la Paz and you turned right before you got to the end, a year after this picture was taken, they built an apartment building, and that was my apartment building that I lived in. But some of the Methodists had big plans, and again, this is where things start to get a little fuzzy for me, because I haven't dug that deep in the research. But this is looking at it from the opposite end. There was a plan in 1921 to this is the same street, Via de la Paz. And this was after World War I, to build a temple of peace. Now, if you guys have followed my work on my Substack at thedukeport.substack.com, you know that I'm highly suspect of things like the Statue of Liberty, because the Statue of Liberty doesn't really look like a god named Liberty to me. The Statue of Liberty looks like a Greek cult figure named Attis, who is actually a castrated shepherd. And so when I look at temple drawings that were designed for my street, I wonder whether or not this is really a temple of peace or it's some other kind of temple. I think that I went to, for example, I went to the temple of Hatshepsut in Egypt, and it looked very similar to this in reverse. That is, the part that is down by the bluffs was up in the hills, and the part that was up in the hills was down on the bluffs, but it seemed very similar as far as the layout. I'm also going to jump back in history a little bit. Same period of time, too, is that the Palisades used to be called Intsville. And Intsville was named for this guy, Thomas Ince. He owned 480 acres, I believe, right here at the junction of what is now Sunset Boulevard and the Pacific Coast Highway. But Thomas Ince has a very interesting end to his life. He was he built the first motion picture studio on the West Coast in the United States. And then his career got terminated. And there are many, you can Google this, there are many who believe that he was actually murdered by William Randolph Hearst. And in fact, it got made into a movie. And so I will show you a clip from that movie.
You just don't get it, do you? What? Why do you think I scrapped all this stuff?
You can't scrap this. It's too good. This is gold, man.
Gold. You want gold? I'll give you some gold. This is a story you won't find written down in there or anywhere else for that matter. It's 1924 or so. And Hearst is giving a birthday party for an old Hollywood producer called Thomas Ince on his yacht. And all the usuals are there, Charlie Chaplin, Luella, etc. And at this time, Marion was ruining everything. And so she slips off the check. Hearst sees this. He goes absolutely nuts. He's there on the deck with the revolver just blasting away like Tom Mix. And he hits Thomas Ince. He is dead. The Empire snaps into action. Ince is cremated, lickety-split. No police, no inquest. The Hearst papers cover it up nice and quiet. The next morning, Hearst offers Luella a lifetime contract to keep her all hush-hush. Now you tell me, you still want to take a shaft to a man like that?
Are you kidding me?
So this is a movie. Obviously, this guy is playing Orson Welles, and the movie that they're making is Citizen Kane, which I believe was a hit piece on William Randolph Hearst. I don't believe that Orson Welles just spontaneously decided that he wanted to pick William Randolph Hearst to go after. My guess is that the oligarchs were having problems with Hearst, probably because he was a nationalist and not a globalist, but that's a whole different story. So I'm going to move on. All right, let's talk about metadata. Okay, this is just like, these are, again, I'm trying to present a bunch of different scenarios without necessarily tying them together or trying to add some kind of conspiracy element to them. We just need to let these things kind of roll over us. So this is something that happened on November 10th. I have about 10 minutes of video on here. I think I'm probably only showing you a couple minutes. But this is November 10th, 2024 at 2:09 p.m. And this is my wife in the foreground. This went on for, I don't know, half an hour, 40 minutes. It could have been an hour. I'm not sure. We went out after it had been going on for a long time, but there were 4 helicopters, 2 Chinooks and 2, what are those? Apaches? No, what do we call those? Other helicopters. 4 military helicopters. And this is the exact same area that is now burned down to the ground. And these guys were just circling, and they would go out into the ocean and then approach like they were invading or something, or like they were going to drop off a special team or some kind of weird thing. Like, I don't know what was going on, but this happened on November 10th. A month later, there was a fire. Fancy that, a fire in Malibu, a little bit north of us. And I got an alert, and the alert said that there were high winds in the area. But the first thing that I did was that I checked my aircraft spotting app, because one of the things that I know is that if the winds are blowing, that they don't have air assets up fighting the fire. And on December 10th, there wasn't enough wind to keep the helicopters grounded. And so you could see in this screenshot, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 helicopters fighting the fire. But I got up. My wife was asleep. She didn't know that I got up. She didn't know that I came back, and I went out and I made this video on December 10th.
I'm out here in the middle of the night covering the Franklin fire in Malibu. I'm shooting some video with my Sony. And this is what the fire looks like on the camera. And this is what it looks like.
Now, it's interesting about, I'm going to leave this for a second and check the comments. What's interesting, okay, so Sergeant Stadenko, who has some domain experience, says infill, exfil practice for the 160th SOAR. Okay, infill, exfil practice. Yes, so why are they doing infill, exfil practice in the Palisades? 2 Chinooks and 2 Blackhawks, that's right. Why are they doing infill, exfil practice in the Palisades? Sergeant. Why do I keep forgetting his name? His name is Medina. Medina. Agent Medina. Another card would be infill, exfil practice, November 10th, Palisades. Send somebody down to send somebody over to the Defense Department and ask them why they were doing that day. Who ordered that? What was the mission? Like, it would be good to know. All right, I am going to go back to the slideshow now that I'm starting to get the hang of this. There was one other thing I was going to say and I forgot, but I'll just move on. Here we go. All right, this video is kind of long, and but it is what happened.
Okay, this is Peter Duke, and I'm reporting here from the Bluffs, the Palisades. There's my car. We're all packed. We're getting ready to go. And as you can see down the street, there's lots of smoke in the air. If we understand correctly, the fire is behind me in the hills. I'm not sure that it's gotten any houses. And then over there, Mesco Canyon appears to be on fire also. So packed up, we're getting out of here. Bye. All right, this is the Bluffs, and as you can see over here.
Wait, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to do that. I don't want to run this whole video again. I want to be able to skip to the part where I was just trying to pause it. What I wanted to say was that I may have to play this over again, and I apologize. The following 2 videos were both shot at the same time. That is, the reason that they have similar timestamps is because I was shooting a video, and then my wife was shooting a video of me. So here we go. And again, there's certain things about Keynote that just drive me crazy.
Okay, this is Peter Duke, and I'm reporting here from the Bluffs, the Palisades. There's my car. We're all packed. We're getting ready to go. And as you can see down the street, there's lots of smoke in the air. If we understand correctly, the fire is behind me in the hills. I'm not sure that it's gotten any houses. And then over there, Mesco Canyon appears to be on fire also. So packed up, we're getting out of here. Bye. All right, this is the Bluffs. And as you can see over here, this is where we normally, it seems like it's on fire there. We're getting the hell out of here.
I was there earlier, just a couple hours ago.
Your light is on here. It's going to make the pictures bad. Thank you. All right, this is the next morning. I have special plates on my truck that identify me as a journalist and let me go through police barricades in situations like this. This is Sunset Boulevard. We just turned left, I think, off of Allenford Avenue, and now we're heading west towards the Pacific Palisades. We will go through what's known as the Riviera, which is where Steven Spielberg and J.J. Abrams and Tom Hanks and those people live. But you can see these houses here. This is the edge of the Riviera. So we're about to go through Capri. And again, curiously, the two main streets that run through this neighborhood are Amalfi and Capri, which are also associated with Roman emperors and oligarchy for the last 2,000 years. There's Capri. And you can see that this neighborhood fared much better than the rest of the Palisades. Only 2 or 3 houses, I think, on Amalfi were destroyed. Steven Spielberg's house was fine. Tom Hanks's house was fine. As far as I know, J.J. Abrams' house was fine. The celebrities who lived down, in the slums and the Huntingtons, like Julia Louis-Dreyfus and other people like that, they didn't fare so well. So this is the straightaway by Riviera Country Club. And like I said, I've got my wife used to drive her crazy that I always had that yellow flashing light on my dashboard, but this is exactly why I had it, because with those license plates and my press pass and the light on my dashboard, I was able to drive wherever I wanted in this area. So this is Amalfi, and at one point there was a fire engine blocking Amalfi, and I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get through, and I cut out.
Oh my God. Oh.
I don't think we can get through.
Oh.
So I didn't think we could get through, but I also thought that as long as I had gone that far, I might as well try. I learned the trick, which is that they block the right side of the road, and if you want to get through, you just have to drive on the wrong side of the road. So it took me a second to figure that out, and once I figured that out, then we were on our way. Again, this is on Sunset Boulevard. This is west of Amalfi. There's kind of an S turn there. And I tried to put this into Premiere and see if I could pull some details out of the white, but the reason that it's so white is because of the amount of smoke in the air. This is a house that's on concrete pillars. That's a famous Sunset Boulevard landmark. The concrete pillars are still there. The house is gone. And you can't really see that in this video, but I apologize for that. And then we got to the top of Sunset and Chautauqua, and there was, for whatever reason, I don't know the answer to this question, 18 to 24 inches of water that we had to ford. So as I came around this corner here following this truck, we had to ford Sunset Boulevard. And I don't know if there was, if Sunset Boulevard sunk or whether or not there was just so much water that there was flooding. But we had to wait for this fire engine to turn around. So we were backing up. And again, yellow flashing lights and the right license plates give you entree to places where other people can't go. So now I'm following the worker. I would stop this and check comments, but I'm afraid I would have to start all over again. So
Still going.
and for all the people who said that trees didn't burn, here's some burned trees. So this is Chautauqua and Sunset. We're fording Chautauqua and Sunset.
Oh my God, the street is so flooded.
That custom built house is gone. Daryl's house is gone.
Oh, wow.
That's my friend Daryl's house.
Fucking sunset.
So everything is gone. With few exceptions, that house looks like it has a tile roof. Many of the houses that have tile roofs made it.
The church is gone.
Yeah, Corpus Christi Church is gutted.
House is gone.
That's that Ralph's supermarket. You can barely see it. It's gone.
Oh, look at the flag all singed.
Here's Rick Caruso's village. It looks untouched on the right side here. You can see that it's fine. Nothing happened to it.
Caruso is fine. Hey, and Dave.
Yeah, my friend Dave Licht owns that building that on the other side that was okay. This is what they call the business block. And this building was just gutted and rebuilt from the inside out about a year and a half ago.
Oh. My goodness.
This was Elise Walker. It was the Amazing Music, Palisades Barber, Juice Crafters, Mark Michelle Eyewear, UPS store, all gone. Beach Street Cafe, Matthews Garden Cafe, Palisades Elementary.
CVS with their concrete roof made it. Schools burned down. Village school is gone.
The school.
All the schools burned down. And this is our street. This is the way that we drove home every day. There was one house there that made it. Every other house gone. You know, it's like driving home to Dresden or Hiroshima or Nagasaki. It's and you can see that the telephone poles with the wires are hanging in the street. I didn't really realize. I was working on
house, and there's Bill's car. I wonder if Bill got out.
We pray he did.
And Route 641, where I used to live.
So the point was that this was probably the most dangerous thing I've ever done in my life, because you could see the telephone wires hanging down here. I mean, the power lines. The house on the left there was built by a famous photographer, I think Mike Reinhardt. Is that right?
Roof.
So this was my normal ride home, where I used to ride my bike into the village up and down the street. My bike, I lost my bike. This house on the right, on Earlham and Swarthmore, for some reason, made it. It was an old house, 1940s, maybe 1950s.
It's gone, Dave.
So this is where I used to live.
Neighbors. The neighbors. Everything's gone. I used to live here. It's gone now. That was the neighbors, obviously.
That was our garage, where we stored all of our prepper supplies. That's the neighbor's yard. That was my wife's table and chairs.
Fucking tree.
We hated that eucalyptus tree. It seemed completely unfazed. This was
Still hot. juxtaposition. See all those lemons on the lemon tree? We should take some of them.
I was going up to my daughter and ex-wife's house. This is Palisades Drive. And again, I was thinking that it was overexposed or something, but really that's just smoke. I'm just driving through the smoke. This is why I had a cough for a month. I also had to have the cabin air filters replaced on my car a day or two later because the air conditioner and the heater became unusable because of the acrid stink that was coming out of it. There was two condominium complexes that burned in the Highlands. One was the Upper Woodies, where my ex-wife, daughter, and brother lived, and the other was the Lower Woodies. When we were up there, there were 4 fire engines sitting at the corner of Palisades Circle and Palisades Drive. The firemen were standing in front of their fire engines with their arms crossed, and none of them were fighting fires. When we drove down, we passed tanker trucks that looked like they were bringing water up to the firemen, but there were no shovels or anything being turned. You know, it didn't seem like, and there was a swimming pool full of water that was available to fight the fire at the Upper Woodies, and they didn't do it. They stood down. So I'm going to end this here, and then I'm going to go back to the chat and see what's going on. Kate Gowan says pretty weird that notoriously explosive flammable eucalyptus is still standing. Yeah, you know, it's been there. It's probably been there, 90 years or something. Yeah, my daughter and my ex-wife, they found a place to live. They're doing better than any of us as far as like moving on with their lives right now. And the empty reservoir was within a couple of 100 yards of my ex-wife and daughter's place. That was part of the reason that we felt so safe there, because it was lit. There had been fires, and I've got video. I've got video of this. I can go dig it up. There was fire a year or two earlier, and those fire helicopters would land, fill up with water, and drop water. And if the fire was right there in that area, sometimes there was a traffic jam over the reservoir for them to fill up with water. Like they would be staged because they could fill up with water so quickly. And on January 7th, that reservoir was empty. There's no good reason for it to be empty. All right, I am going to go back. Yeah, homeless in your own country. You should have lots of help from the government, although it should not have happened at all. It should not have happened at all. And, we'll get to that as I continue going on here. I know I've been going for an hour and 12 minutes, but I've got more stuff to show. So with that, you guys are getting the audio. You guys are seeing the picture. If we're good, then I'm going to go back to that. Here we go. Hit play. Okay, I'm going to talk about epistemological war. I have a thesis. I didn't invent this idea. I think it comes from Webster Tarpley, and I'm not sure where he got it from. But he and Lyndon LaRouche were pitching this idea, and other guys, Anton Chaikin and other guys were pitching this idea in the 80s that we're in the middle of something called an epistemological war. And epistemological is a long word, but it really just means how we know what we know. And one of the favorite methods, it's a hypnotic method for getting us to believe in one direction as opposed to believing in another direction, is using things called presuppositions. Presuppositions are words that force you to think past whatever the idea is that's being talked about. So for example, if you're calling something a wildfire, then you're not thinking about whether or not it's arson. You're not thinking about whether or not this was caused by people who had deliberate and malicious intent. The word wildfire itself connotes the idea that it was something wild and out of control, and it was something that nobody could do anything about. And so when I see idiots like Brad Sherman who have wildfire resources, and I hear Gavin Newsom talking about wildfires, I go wild, because I don't think these fires are wild. I think these fires are directed and with malice aforethought. That's my jaded, one-sided, biased opinion, but I will show you why I believe that as we move forward. Here's another presupposition: teenagers with fireworks. Okay. On January 1st, 2025, at about 12:15, so about 15 minutes after midnight, there was another fire in the Palisades that started in the exact same location as the fire on the 7th. To me, that's metadata. Okay. And I don't know, I'm not sure that I know what it means, but I'm sure that Agent Medina probably has a card that says same location, January 1st. However, there were some presuppositions. On the San Francisco Chronicle and the New York Times seem to be the lead on this threat, on this idea that the Pacific Palisades had a fireworks problem. Now one may have caused a disaster. I can tell you as an eyewitness who lived on the bluffs that stochastically, which is a big word that means sort of randomly, there were occasionally fireworks being set off on the bluffs and in the neighborhoods of the Palisades. I do not know who was setting them off. Okay. We can assume from looking at headlines like this that somebody might have seen people or reported it, but I never saw a teenager. I did hear fireworks. Likewise, Sue Pasco from Circling the News wrote that on October 2023 that there was a blog covering the Pacific Palisades addressed the issue of illegal fireworks for years. In October 2023, she photographed a box of used fireworks on her street. Okay, so there's no doubt that there were fireworks going off. There's no doubt about that. Okay, I was there, I witnessed it. I'm not sure who was setting them off. Okay. And this was a picture that I had never seen before. A neighbor captured an image of adolescents setting off fireworks near the Palisades Recreation Center in February. I don't see any adolescents in the picture. I do see fireworks. I don't see any adolescents. Here's a picture that I took on November 25th, 2024 at 2:08 p.m. And that is taggers. Now, you have to understand, this location on the bluffs is probably 20 miles from where there's any gangs in Los Angeles. So they would have to drive. And when I moved to the Pacific Palisades, it was interesting because the Pacific Palisades are pretty out of the way. That is, unless you're driving down Sunset Boulevard to get to the ocean, which is not the way that most people go to the ocean. No, most people don't actually even know where the Pacific Palisades are. And in fact, I did not know where the Pacific Palisades were until I drove there in 1990 because my friend asked me to be his roommate. And I had never driven there before. So this is how out of the way the Palisades is. And then there's these TikTok style videos that showed up. So curiously, this guy, Benjamin Oren, and I'm not sure whether or not Benjamin Oren is his first name and middle name or first name and last name, because you can see this is metadata again on his social media. His handle is Ben Jarvis, Jarvis. So is his name Ben Jarvis Oren, or is it Ben Oren Jarvis? I'm not sure, but here's the video that he posted shortly after the fire. And what's interesting about the video is that it's 480p. And the thing is about most smartphones that have been made in the last 5 or 6 years is that they're all at least 1080p. And so there are some mitigating circumstances why a video would be 480p. But I ask you to pay attention to the language and the way that this video is shot, and I will start it now.
Wait, we're in a fucking fire right now, guys. We gotta go up. Let's go up. Let's go up. Go. Benji, this way. Yeah. Come on.
Okay, he's yelling Benji, but Benji is the one who posted the video. So Benji didn't shoot the video, but Benji posted the video.
Oh, what you doing?
Let's go. That's my fire. Wait, did you hear it? Wait. Oh my God, look.
Oh my God, look.
Look to the left. We should go to the left. Where we going? Left. Oh my God, the wind's blowing right towards us.
Oh my God. The wind.
It's down.
How dangerous.
Go. We got this.
All right. So I have a few things to say about this. One is they didn't really shoot pictures of the fire, and they shot these videos with a phone. And I don't know about you, but if I've got a phone and I'm in the mountains and the mountains are on fire, and by the way, everybody's got the cell coverage in the location where they're at right now is excellent. They have excellent, like 5 bars, like clear line of sight to the towers. They didn't call 911. Why didn't they call 911? You know, this is my question. And then later, Rob Schneider, I've written articles on my Substack. You can read all about signature reduction. There's also signature amplification. Okay, so Rob Schneider says, please help identify these guys. And these guys are smiling. Look at the expressions on their faces. They've got big grins on their faces. But the words coming out of their mouths were that they were, oh my God, it's coming straight towards us. We have to run. It's going to get to us. Like, this whole thing to me feels like a acting job. And so I got some criticisms on my Twitter feed because people thought that I was accusing these guys of being arsons. And I'm not accusing these guys of being arsons. I'm accusing these guys of being a stalking horse, to be a decoy, to attract our attention, so that we can misapply our judgment towards the wrong people, and in that way not identify the people who are responsible for starting the fire in the first place. Because again, I believe that this fire was deliberately set, and I'll get on to that. But this guy Benji is interesting because he runs a website that's called The Age of Synthesis, among other things. And he's got a lot of this like airy-fairy nonsense. The story is that he and his buddies went up to Skull Rock that morning because they wanted to meditate. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't know anybody who does that. Like, but on his website, The Age of Synthesis, synthesis is an interesting word because if you watch my channel, you know that the Hegelian dialectic is thesis, antithesis, synthesis. And synthesis is what you get after you've done the thesis and the antithesis, or in English, the problem, the reaction, and solution. So it's the age of solution. And one of the things that he's interested in synthesizing is Eastern philosophy with Western science. And that winds up, again, this becomes a white card, Agent Medina. Eastern philosophy and Western science is something that the guy who witnessed the fire, who is acting as a decoy, potentially, has on his website. That's kind of interesting. And I'll get to why it's interesting. He's also on his website, Age of Synthesis. He's got a feature on his website called The Benches of Esalen. And for anybody who follows Courtney Turner and Matthew Arid and Cynthia Chung and Matthew Crawford, Esalen is a very interesting place that seems to be closely associated to oligarchs and epistemological warfare that's been going on for the last, 70 or 60 years. Benji also went on and he wrote a blog post on his Substack, The Cosmic Hot Tub, my near-death experience with the Palisades fire. Out of everywhere and every when I could have been when the Palisades fire kicked off, I was with 4 friends up a Temescal Canyon hiking trail, almost exactly where the fire began. This is an unforgettable tale I will take with me for the rest of my life. He goes on to write, this is on February 5th, 2025. We knew that the wind would be pretty crazy, but nobody suspected a fire would start. We actually thought that it would be kind of a fun experience, kind of fun to experience the winds and to see the cool views of all the plant life blowing in the wind. And then he quotes, the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. And when I read that, I thought to myself, I think I've seen this before, okay? And where I've seen it is at Nomia magazines, because on January 13th, Nathan Gardell, who's the handler, my analysis, he's the handler of Nicholas Bergruen, wrote this article, LA blowing in the wind. Will the fires this time make a difference? Where he quotes at the beginning of the article, this is a quote, all the specific circumstances, remember I was talking about presuppositions earlier? All the specific circumstances of the LA fatal firestorm are not attributable to climate change. But there is no doubt, this is a universal quantifier, it set the conditions for the hellish devastation that has enveloped the city of Los Angeles. I will call bullshit on you, Nathan, and I will say there's lots of doubt, Nathan. There's lots of doubt. Just because you say there's no doubt doesn't make it true. As whole neighborhoods were reduced to ash, it was reported last week that the temperatures on the planet, oh my God, passed the 1.5 degrees Celsius, 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit mark set by the Paris Climate Accord as a dangerous threshold beyond which calamity calls. Oh, Nathan. For those living in LA, the calamity is already here. That's for sure. But this is a complex equivalency, as we call in linguistics, and one does not necessarily have anything to do with the other. In part, the catastrophe that struck the most populated county in the U.S. was collectively self-inflicted by real estate developers, lax lawmakers, and residents seeking to nestle their dwellings in the natural beauty of the state, all of whom dismissed the well-known risks. Bullshit. Bullshit. And one more thing about Nathan. He quotes Bob Dylan, okay? And at which point I say, and I'm a boomer. Okay, boomer. Let's talk about this for a second. Let's talk about our old buddy Hegel. climate change. Here's the presupposition of all presuppositions, okay? How LA fires erupted into the worst natural disaster in California history. Not a natural disaster. LA wildfires were larger and more intense due to a planet warming pollution, scientists report. Scientists, experts, people with letters at the beginning of their names and at the end of their names who make shit up. Here's a fact. The fires were started twice in the same location. That's metadata. Here's the location. Here is the January 1st around midnight and January 7th about 10:30 a.m. Here's that rock where those guys were standing. They call it Skull Rock. My ex-wife has been hiking in this area for 25 years, and I called her to verify that Skull Rock is not a new thing. It's well known to hikers in the area. So this is the side of it. Kind of you can kind of see it looks like a skull. If you're on the front of it, it looks like a skull. This is the back of it. But again, here's some presuppositions: broken beer bottles and police tape near Skull Rock. They're broken beer bottles. Oh, it's people drinking and playing with matches in the middle of the forest. You could drink and not play with matches. You can drink and break beer bottles and not necessarily be playing with matches. Here's a picture taken on January 1st. And here's a picture taken on January 7th. Same place. Fire was started in the same place. This is all metadata, right? On the left is fire being started on the 1st. On the right is fire being started on the 7th. Same place. They just went to the same place and started it over again. This is January 1st, same neighborhood. This is January 9th. All right, I'm going to quit out of this for a second, and I'm going to go look at comments and see what we got. Somebody said smoking MJ and dropping a cherry. You know, here's the thing. People who live in that area know that there's fires. They don't do that shit. I mean, maybe they do. Maybe they're stupid and stoned, but I don't know. When I was young, when I was like 17 or 18 years old, I was with some friends who were smoking weed in the hills, and there was this girl from Indiana who had never been in California before, and she took a cigarette and she flicked it down the hill after she finished smoking it. And about 5 of us ran down the hill to grab the cigarette because we knew we know what happened. So yeah, maybe, but who knows? All right, I don't see that many. I don't see any questions, so I'm going to go back to the prezo. Here we go. All right, so let's jump to. We're talking about Hegel. We're talking about synthesis. If you understand the way that the Hegelian dialectic works, you've got to work yourself back from synthesis to thesis, right? So what possibly could be the thesis for starting a fire that would have the result? So the problem would be you have a fire. The reaction would be everybody thinks that the government isn't capable of serving the needs of the people. So the synthesis in that scenario would be that you would need a new government, right? So it's interesting that in 2012, the Berggruen Institute published this, a blueprint to renew California. And the entire thesis of this blueprint is that the government in the state of California is no longer capable of managing the state in a way that the citizens of the state serves the citizens of the state. And this was started by Nicholas Berggruen, along with Eli Broad and Willie Brown and Gray Davis and Robert Hertzberg and Condoleezza Rice, Eric Schmidt, Terry Simmel, and George Schultz. George Schultz, all these people who have such close connections to the state of California. The interesting thing is about the Berggruen Institute is that one of the things about the Berggruen Institute is that they're all about putting the West and the East together. They want Eastern philosophy. That is, they want Chinese lack of individual autonomy combined with Western technology. That's their connection. And so when I saw on the Age of Synthesis that it was Asian philosophy and Western technology, I thought, wow, that's interesting, because that's exactly the same idea that the Berggruen Institute is foisting on the world right now. All right. Here's a New York Times article on where the Palisades fire started. But this is my metadata right here. This is a map from a place called the the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy. And you can see, we've talked about Occidental Petroleum at the beginning of the show today. You can see that on the lower, in the center, on the bottom there, the Getty Villa. You see the Getty Villa. This is a Getty museum that's a copy of a Roman villa that was found under the ashes of Pompeii, I think in Herculaneum. And J. Paul Getty recreated it on the coast of the Pacific. Again, these weird Rome things, right? He builds a Roman villa in a neighborhood that's called the Amalfi Coast in the Palisades, and then on the right side you see the J. Paul Getty Museum, which is right next to the 440-acre parcel that is supposed to be the Berggruen Institute. And what's interesting about the Berggruen Institute is that the land isn't zoned for the Berggruen Institute, and they've been fighting to build their little center there for about, I think, 10 or 11 years. And if you draw a line between the two Getty museums, the gray areas are all of the areas where houses burned down to the ground, where it says, now it says Santa Ynez Canyon Park, that gray area, and you can see on the left there, it says Santa Ynez Reservoir. That's the red, and it's blue, like it's supposed to have water in it. It had no water in it that day. That was the water that was supposed to prevent this entire catastrophe from happening, that was conveniently not there on that day. And then where it says Temescal Gateway Park, that gray area, that entire area is decimated. It no longer exists. Likewise, the thing that looks like the boot of Italy to the lower right of that, which was my neighborhood, that is gone. Where it says Revis Canyon Park, that area is gone. Where it says Pacific Palisades Park, most of those houses have been eliminated. And they're curiously completely surrounded by the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy, which we'll get to in a second. All right, so here's an animation from the New York Times that shows the spread of the fire. I want you to be very aware of what happens. There's a little clock timer on the top of what happens between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. on Tuesday. So I will start the video now. This is New York Times. Here's the fire. It's spreading. It's spreading. Not 10. Boom, right there. So the fire goes from being a big fire to being an out of control fire between 10 and 11 o'clock on Tuesday evening. So the question becomes, what happened between 10 and 11 p.m. on Tuesday the 7th? So the next video that I'm going to show you, I am not saying that this happened, okay? I am not saying that anything beyond the wind increasing happened. However, this is something that, again, Agent Medina, please fill out a 3x5 card and write down droneamplified.com on there, because there are ways of increasing the efficacy of a fire. And I'm going to show you this video now. This is from a website called droneamplified.com.
One of the best ways to combat wildfires is to use controllable, low-intensity fires that consume the fuel on the ground. that would otherwise help a large, intense fire spread. Ignition spheres, similar in size and shape to a ping pong ball, are a great way to ignite a low-intensity fire. They can be dispensed using drone-amplified, drone-based system, custom flight control software to safely ignite low-intensity fires over a large area.
Ping pong balls, as they're commonly referred to, has a dry chemical in it called potassium permanganate. And when you inject the ping pong ball with glycol or antifreeze, you get a reaction about 30 to 45 seconds later. The reason we use ping pong balls is because we can drop it from the air. They ping pong down through the trees and get to the ground level so we can establish a backing fire, which generally, ecologically speaking, is more healthy for the forest, and it doesn't generate crown fire generally because we can control the intensity of the heat. If we start at the top and bring a line of balls across the top and then step that down the ridge, you get less intense fire and just generally underburn the large fuel mass that's generated under, however many years of conditions they've had since the previous fire.
Drone Amplify has combined tested and proven technology with cutting-edge innovation in hardware and software to provide a safe, affordable, and effective way to advance the efforts of protecting our land, communities, and firefighters.
All right, so I'm not saying that Ignis had anything to do with this fire. I'm not saying that. However, they sell these things. And I believe that like a hammer can be used to build a house, you can also use a hammer to hit somebody over the head. So I don't have an Android phone, so I haven't done this. But if you go to the Drone Amplified website, you can download this app, which is the Drone Amplified Fire Starter app, where you can put together a plan for dropping your firebomb ping pong balls into specific areas at a specific time in a specific pattern in order to be able to deploy the fire starter drone. It's, like I said, if you've got Android, you can go download this app right now and you can play around with it and see what you can do. You don't have, I don't think you have to have a drone to do it. You can put together a plan. And so when I look at the New York Times video and I see that the fire exploded between 10 and 11 p.m. on Tuesday night, I have to ask the question, are there methods by which somebody could amplify a fire? He talked about how it's a low level of, that these balls start at low level of fire, but I would argue that in 85-mile-an-hour winds, there's no such thing as a low level of fire. But I'm not the only one talking about this. U.S. Forest Service has articles on ping pong balls and drones, future of fire in the forest. And what's curious is that the World Economic Forum also has this program that they write about called Fire AID, but spelled Fire Aid. And what's interesting about Fire Aid is that after the fires here in Los Angeles, they announced that there was going to be a big rock concert to raise money for all the fire victims. And the name of it is called Fire AID. So if you type in Fire AID in Google right now, you will not find the World Economic Forum articles. You have to go to the World Economic Forum website and type in Fire AID, and you will find, I think, 5 different articles on what they call wildfire prevention. And like I said about the drone, it's a tools thing, right? You can use a tool to do good things and you can use a tool to do bad things. So for example, this article is all about how you can use AI to predict the effects of wildfires, right? What's the desired impact? What's the overarching vision? What does a world in which AI systems for wildfires are optimized to look like? That's a question that I want to know too. Inspector Medina, that's another question that I want to know. I want to know whether or not the World Economic Forum's Fire AI, Fire Aid software, Fire AID software can be used to plan a fire. Can you use AI to determine where the best place to start a fire would be if you wanted to have the most devastating impact on a community? I want to know the answer to that question. This is another 3x5 card, Agent Medina. Okay, and the system integrates geospatial, temporal, human, and technical infrastructure. It measures CO2 emissions, warmer temperatures, lower water levels, and higher fire production. It integrates drones and sensors and social media. Wow, that sounds like just the kind of system that you would need if you wanted to use fire as a weapon of war, which is why I don't think that the ATF is necessarily 100% qualified to handle this. I think that the FBI and that the Department of Homeland Security are probably, it would be great if it was a joint task force between 3 agencies. And maybe if Kash Patel becomes the head of the FBI, I could get his attention somehow. So who benefits? Well, who benefits from this stuff? I think before we get into who benefits, I think that we need to look at a little history. So this is a video by Greg Reese. I don't always agree with Greg Reese. I believe that those drones are legitimate directed energy weapons. I've never seen a beam weapon in production. So when somebody wants to show me how a beam weapon works in Lahaina or the Pacific Palisades, and I was in the Pacific Palisades when it was burning, and I certainly didn't see any beams coming down from space, although I've seen lots of memes that people have, fake memes that people have created. But in any case, let me run this Greg Reese video.
Pat Brown's father, Edmund Joseph Brown, was known for running scams and gambling operations in San Francisco. With the help of businessman William Newsom II, Pat Brown became governor of California for 2 terms. During his governorship, he awarded the Squaw Valley concession contract to William Newsom III and his partner, John Pelosi. The deal was criticized for the state of California paying for everything and getting nothing. William Newsom III grew up with the governor's son, Jerry, who was training to be a Jesuit priest. John Pelosi's son, Paul, married Nancy D'Alessandro, daughter of Thomas D'Alessandro Jr., who was known for smuggling heroin into the U.S. with Lucky Luciano and the Baltimore Mafia. John Pelosi's son, Ron, married William Newsom's daughter, Barbara. Over ongoing disputes about the Squaw Valley concession, William Newsom Sr. threatened to hurt the governor politically, just as Governor Brown was running for a 3rd term against Ronald Reagan. He lost. But 8 years later, the former governor's Jesuit son, Jerry, reclaimed the governorship in 1974. He appointed William Newsom III to a Placer County judgeship in 1975, and 3 years later to the State Court of Appeal. William Newsom was an attorney for oil magnate J. Paul Getty, named in the 1966 Guinness Book of World Records as the world's richest private citizen. And while serving on the appellate bench in the 1980s, he helped Getty's son, Gordon, secure a change in state trust law that allowed him to claim his share of a multi-heir trust. After Newsom retired from the bench, he became administrator of the Getty Trust and provided seed money for his son, Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi's nephew, to start a plump jack business that led to a career in San Francisco politics as mayor of San Francisco and lieutenant governor of the state of California. Gavin Newsom was informally adopted by the Gettys after his parents divorced, and recently succeeded family friend Jerry Brown to be the current governor of California. For 80 years, these four families have ruled over the state of California politically. And with the help of Kamala Harris, Maxine Waters, Adam Schiff, and Dianne Feinstein, California's uncontrollable state government spending has amounted to over $2 trillion in debt and the highest tax rates in the country. The homelessness population is on the rise so much that a typhus outbreak has reached epidemic levels. Thousands of needles from illicit drugs litter the streets. They have made California a sanctuary state. They have been steadily chiseling away at the Second Amendment. They have passed laws for mandatory vaccinations, and they continue to aggressively oppose our president on every front. On October 1st, 2016, right before Donald Trump won the election, President Obama transferred full control of the internet from the US government to an independent California nonprofit organization. In a cyber war scenario, the US government may not have control over the internet. Even if it secures military and government domains and IP addresses, the targets in cyber warfare are likely to be civilian, and the US government requires private sector infrastructure to operate. Since the internet underpins our computer systems, electrical grids, communication systems, and other critical infrastructure, our entire civilian society could be at risk. Who controls California? Who controls the four families? What is a republic? For newswars.com, this is Greg Reese.
All right, so I'm going to come back and check the comments one more time. And let me see. Yeah, Charles Held says old school mafia. Yeah, we're talking about the mafia here. We're talking about California is run by the mafia. So somebody says those drones that use the ping pong balls that probably burn up without a trace are less obvious than laser beams from the sky, or they are invisible. Here's the thing. Polyethyl glycol. I can't remember what the chemicals are, but that would be another card, Agent Medina, that I would be looking at your soil samples for. I would be looking for the chemicals that are used by the drones in trace elements to figure out whether or not these fires were being exacerbated with these drones. All right, here we go, or with this type of technology, let's just say. All right, I'm going to go back to the Prezo here. Okay. Okay, next slide. Okay, so within a day or two of the fire, Karen Bass was out of town. She was in, where was she? In Ghana? Was she in Ghana? I can't remember what African country she was in, but she was conveniently unavailable to be able to sign things and do things. So there was a deputy mayor and there was lots of confusion. But she gets back to Los Angeles and she names this guy, Steve Soboroff, to be the czar of rebuilding the Palisades. Well, man, there was something about Steve Soboroff. A friend of mine pinged me right after I did a show the other day. Steve Soboroff, he's Steve. This is from an article. I think I could show you the article. Billionaire wants to build think tank in high-risk fire zone. So Nicholas Berggruen hired Steve Soboroff to be a senior project advisor to get basically to spearhead getting all of the bureaucratic red tape out of the way so that Nicholas Berggruen could build his think tank in the Santa Monica Mountains. Now, if you remember the map that I showed you earlier, this think tank is going to be right next to the Getty Museum next to the 405. So the Getty Museum that was on the far right of the image. And what's interesting is that there's 440 acres here that was not zoned for this institute. So historically, for 41 years, the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy has bought land and turned it into parks. It is not allowed any development. It is anti-development. This would be, I believe, one of the first, if not the only, actual new developments that would happen on land that was previously administered by the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy. And here's another curious thing. Again, this is just a coincidence and it may mean nothing, but we talked about Intzville and William Randolph Hearst murdering Thomas Ince. Nicholas Berggruen, the homeless billionaire, actually does have a home. I think technically his institute owns it, so he really is homeless. He probably just has a bedroom there. He probably just has a 10,000 square foot bedroom. He owns William Randolph Hearst's Beverly Hills mansion. It's curious, right? It's just a coincidence thing. So you can put the agent Medina, you can write that down on a card too. Okay. Nicholas Berggruen, he's got cozy relationships with all of those people in that video. He's friends with Gavin Newsom. He's given Jerry Brown an award, and he posts all these are Instagram posts off of Nicholas Berggrun's account. He posts about giving Jerry Brown an award, the Blue Plymouth Award. I don't know what that means. He's buddies with Karen Bass, Eric Garcetti, and this guy they dug out of the closet to have comments about the fires in the last couple of days. Antonio Villagrosa. Here he is with Antonio Villagrosa. Nancy Pelosi doesn't seem to be buying what he's selling at the point, but he certainly seems to be trying. Here's Eric Adams, mayor of New York, who's having his own political problems right now. Here he is with Barack Obama, buddy. Barack seems very happy, a little happier than Al Gore. Al Gore seems a little nonplussed, and he seemed to be, buddy with Henry Kissinger too. But it doesn't just stick with California and the United States. Here he is with Shimon Peres and Emmanuel Macron. This guy used to be the Prime Minister of Australia. This woman was the Prime Minister of Finland. Here he is with Nicolas Sarkozy. And not to be left out, here's Xi. He's got tech bro buddies. Here he is with Sean Parker, Eric Schmidt, and chairman of the board of directors, I think, of the World Economic Forum, Reid Hoffman. Here he is with Pierre Omidyar, who started eBay and the honeypot slaughter pen known as The Intercept, which ran a program called Secure Drop, which was a way that you could securely leak information to the right authorities. And the unfortunate benefit of Secure Drop was that most of the people who are whistleblowers who used Secure Drop wound up getting arrested or prosecuted. But not to leave anybody out, here's Elon Musk. This is Berggruen, an old buddy of mine, Lawrence Bender, who produced most of Quentin Tarantino's first films and Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth. Lawrence is also a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. He's there with Elon Musk, Bobby Kotick, who I think was the CEO of Activision. And the guy on the left is named something Baruch. And I wonder whether or not he's related to Bernard Baruch, just a normal everyday name. Here he is with Niall Ferguson, the biographer of the Rothschilds, and Michael Bloomberg. And here he is with Michael Milken, another dubious character who wound up creating a complete economic catastrophe and then wound up becoming a philanthropist after that, after he spent a couple of weeks in jail. Here he is with his good buddy Arianna Huffington, Richard Dawkins, the leading atheist of the world. And he looks very cozy here with with Yuval Harari, his buddy. He had Harari. If you go to the Berggruen Institute YouTube channel, you can see a talk that Harari gave at the Hearst Mansion in Beverly Hills about a few months ago. And here he is with Evelyn Rothschild, and not to leave anybody out, here's the Pope. He had a party. He wrote a book called Renovating Democracy, and he had a party. And here he is with the Senate Majority Leader in California, a guy named Robert Hertzberg, who's responsible for his digital takeover program for California that Alice McDowell has done so much work on. She's got, I don't know, 13 or 16 articles, and I've posted a summary of the work that Alice McDowell has done on my Substack. But part of the reason that you probably, and he's also there with Evan, what's the guy's name? Evan Spiegel, who is he's the, which I can't remember which one of those social media platforms. It's not Instagram, it's not TikTok, it's the other one. It's Snapchat. He's the CEO of Snapchat and seems to be a big promoter of Berggruen. And part of the reason I think that most people don't know who Nicholas Berggruen is that another buddy of his is Patrick Soon-Schwong. Patrick Soon-Schwong, of course, owns, besides Immunity Bio, he also owns the Los Angeles Times. So Berggruen, also from his Instagram account, seems to be very preoccupied with fire. He, fires do rage around the Santa Monica Mountains, and so this is the property that is by his property on the eastern end of the Santa Monica Mountains between the 405 and the beach. And he's saluting the firemen and saying all of the good things, but a few years ago when he was taking off in his G6, he shot pictures of this and liked to post about it. And then also he seems to like the drones that he's got flying around his property. And he's got some curious tweets, here's one. This is the Getty Villa, which is on the western end of the fire zone. This was 422 weeks ago, whatever, how many ever years ago that was. It says the vision of one man to honor what endures, myths and cultures. One of the things that you'll notice about Berggruen is that you kind of notice is that he uses many words that don't say anything. He's a baffle gab expert, but sometimes he says things that are telling. Here's an Instagram post that he posted 391 weeks ago. He said, every positive value, again, let's relate this to the Hegelian dialectic, to the problem, reaction, solution, or the thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Every positive value has its price in negative terms. The genius of Einstein leads to Hiroshima, Pablo Picasso. Again, that's if you assume that nuclear weapons are real. I don't, but this seems to be begging some kind of a Hegelian dialectic. And all of the other things on his Instagram feed kind of indicate things that are happening in the Santa Monica Mountains. They have to do with fire. And yes, he's closely associated with the mafia that runs California. That said, he also posted this. On 9/11, 229 weeks ago, I'm trying to read this. He wrote, when we humans become our own enemies. Again, assuming that 9/11 was as the story was told. Here's where it starts to get really weird. Agent Medina. In 2021, January 27th, his brother, Alexander Berggruen, had an art show. I think his gallery is in New York, Madison Avenue, 1018 Madison Avenue, by a British artist. And the paintings, the series of paintings, the gallery show was named The Sweet and Burning Hills. And this featured painting is supposedly a portrait of someone. I don't know who it is. And they are standing in front of ostensibly what is supposed to be the burning Hollywood Hills, which are adjoined to they're all the Santa Monica Mountains. It's just the east end of the same mountains. And here's some other slides from the same show that I couldn't show at the Lighthouse Church. So here's this. The next thing I'm going to show you is going to be a clip from a video that was shot on January 17th, 2013, so 11 years ago, of Berggruen pimping the book that he wrote, the Renovating Democracy book, to the students at the Oxford Union in Oxford, England. So I'm going to run this video, and then I want you to be aware of three things. He talks about how the problem with California is that in order to get anything done, you need a 2/3 majority. He then follows it up by talking about how the state of California has changed their constitution 500 times, which, by the way, requires a 2/3 majority. So out of one side of his mouth, he's saying the problem with California is that they need a 2/3 of majority to change anything. And then out of the other side of his mouth, he demonstrates that's happened 500 times. And then the third thing that he indicates is that there's a problem with the ballot initiative process in California that actually makes it harder to govern. And I'm going to talk more about that after I play this video. I don't think this video is very long, so hang in there with me. Here we go.
The Institute sort of has two elements, the think tank element and what we call the action tank element, meaning we take the idea that governance is key and that the way that we as citizens are managing our lives with each other is going to be sort of the greatest determinant in our lives, maybe next to culture. And therefore, the book is all around systems of governance and the effect on society. What we've done beyond the think part is, as I said, we've become really an action tank around a few sort of key issues that we think, frankly, are important and need reform. And we've sort of focused on three, very different. One is California. The idea simply being that California is in itself almost like a country. If you think of California, it has 38 million people. It's got a GDP of, in dollars, around $2 trillion. So it's as big as really any of the leading European countries. It's almost as big as the UK. So it's an important place. It's also a place that has influence. It's a place that's been incredibly successful, but has enormous challenges today. The success, you probably know, not only the GDP that exists today, all the people that's attracted, but it's a leader in technology, leader in media, leader actually in agriculture. So it's a leader in a number of different areas, but it has today great difficulty in financing its future. It has big fiscal deficit, and it has large unemployment, even though it has success, meaning it has more than 10% unemployment, which is high by US standards. So you have uneven distribution of, let's say, economic spoils and probably opportunities. And the system in California has, we think, flaws that are truly structural, which is what we're interested in as an institute. These flaws are that the governor, who in theory is the boss, needs 2/3 majority from the legislature to get anything meaningful done. So all the issues that exist today, deficit and other issues of California, need to be addressed. If the governor wants to make changes, governor needs a supermajority, in essence, of the legislature. Very hard to get in an environment where in the US you've got two parties, which historically have been reasonably equal. And the legislature itself won't address the tough issues because they have an electorate to defend, and the electorate sort of hijacks a lot of the legislatures with
the electorate
issues of their own. So the California, we feel, has great difficulty in in reforming itself. And California also has a very interesting thing, which is that it has history of referendums to actually get the big reforms done. And if you look at the U.S. Constitution, I think there have been 26 or 27 amendments. I think California, which has when was the Constitution established?
Well, it's been amended 500 times.
Yeah, it's been amended 500 times. So California has been changed through amendments. So the reason why we as a group chose California is it's been successful, has a decent chance of being successful in the future. So it's a place worth fighting for, but it has enormous challenges, and you can actually make reforms because of the referendum system. So that's California.
Agent Medina, I have a question. Who is we as a group? When Berggruen is talking about we as a group, like, who is he talking about? And I don't know why I left that comment up the whole time. I apologize. Somebody said, how is the book going? Oh, yeah, how is the book going? I'll talk about that later. Anyway, the point that I wanted to make, I didn't mean to leave that lower third up, and I'm sorry that I did, but I can't see what I'm doing here. I'm flying blind. Anyway, the point is about Berggruen. He's talking about how the electorate is getting in the way of the group. I want to know who the group is that he's talking about. When he says we've gotten together as a group and decided the electorate is getting in the way because they have these pesky ballot initiatives. I'm going to talk about I'll take this off for a second. I'm going to talk about 3 different ballot initiatives. One was Proposition 8 that came out a few years ago that was rebranded Proposition Hate. And Proposition 8 simply defined marriage as between a man and a woman. And then all of these celebrities came out, Paris Hilton and all these other idiots came out with no hate, like written on their face like a tattoo. And eventually it got overturned in the California Supreme Court as being illegal for whatever dumb reason. So in that case, the ballot initiative process didn't work. About 4 or 5 years ago in the state of California, we voted to get rid of daylight savings time on a ballot initiative. We still have daylight savings time. It won unanimous, like it was a big deal. Like everybody wanted to stop resetting the clocks. We still have daylight savings time. Here's what I hypothesize it could be about. The ballot proposition that Nicholas Berggruen may be intimating that his group has real problems with. Enough of a problem that they might need to overthrow the government system of the entire state is Proposition O. Proposition O is the ballot initiative that was born in the Pacific Palisades. It was born in the houses that no longer exist anymore. It was funded, organized, and financed by the people who lived in those houses that prevented Occidental Petroleum from drilling for oil underneath the Pacific Palisades. That might be the ballot initiative that Nicholas Berggruen is talking about, because I don't believe him when he says that the governor needing a 2/3 majority from the legislature is actually really, in order to do something meaningful, is actually a real problem. Okay, when out of the other side of his mouth, he indicates that that's happened by changing the Constitution over 500 times. So the reason I started this tonight with this George Webb video, which is the cat and the laser pointer, is that it seems to be that if you take a look at the oil, then maybe there should be an Occidental Petroleum card. Okay. And we need to figure out how Getty and Occidental work together, because I'm not sure that they have the same goals, but they are in the same business. And I don't know if they have overlapping boards of directors or any of that stuff. I know that the Arm & Hammer Museum is the other big West Los Angeles art museum in Westwood. All right, I'm going to go back to sharing my presentation, and then I'll be done, and I'll be able to answer questions. So here we go. Okay, so next slide. The next slide is something interesting happened during the fire. I was in the morning shooting video, which I have beautiful video, and I just haven't had time to go back and edit it, of the Super Scoopers. And one of the Super Scoopers was grounded for 2 or 3 days during the height of the fires because they say that it ran into a drone. And the drone that they say that it ran into was this drone, a little DJI drone. So it made a bit of a hole in the wing there. But I think that it's arguable that that drone might be a little small to make a hole that big. I'm not sure. I'm speculating. I'd like to see the FAA do some, kind of bird strike style experiments on wings with drones of different sizes. But what's interesting to me is how quickly this next event happened, which was that within days, the police had arrested a man who claimed that he had been flying this DJI drone, that made this hole in the wing, that he had been flying it, and that he pleaded guilty and was sentenced. He was arrested, put on trial, and sentenced within a couple of days. And to me, there's something curious about that.
Breaking news out of LA today, a man has pled guilty for flying his drone recklessly into a fire plane during the Palisades fire. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Well, federal authorities have announced charges against a local man connected with a drone collision during the Palisades firefight.
That incident downed the Super Scooper for several days. Corrine Winter is live in downtown LA with details from prosecutors. Hi, Corrine.
Hi there, Lou and Glenn. And yes, we know who that individual is, 56-year-old Peter Ackman of Culver City. That's the individual, according to the Department of Justice, the drone operator who flew his drone into a Super Scooper during the Palisades fire. That fire, of course, caused a lot of widespread devastation, also many deaths. The DOJ says Ackman has pleaded guilty to 1 count of unsafe operation of an unmanned aircraft, and that he also allegedly admitted to his reckless and illegal conduct. According to federal prosecutors, Ackman drove to the 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica. He parked his vehicle on the top floor of a parking structure and flew his drone in the direction of the Palisades. Prosecutors say he wanted to see the damage that the wildfire was causing. That was reportedly about 1.5 miles in the direction of the fire, but he lost sight of that drone, and that drone then collided with a Super Scooper carrying 2 crew members aggressively trying to fight that fire. That collision left a 3-inch by 6-inch hole in the left wing of the Super Scooper. It had to be taken out of service, and we know how important those Super Scoopers are, one of the most important firefighting aircraft in their arsenal. Here's more on the charges.
Federal prosecutors today filed a criminal charge against Peter Trip Ackerman. Mr. Ackerman has agreed to accept responsibility and plead guilty to 1 count of unsafe operation of an unmanned aircraft. As part of his plea agreement, Mr. Ackerman admitted that he acted recklessly, and his conduct posed an imminent threat to firefighting crews.
And Ackman has a 1 o'clock court appearance here in the federal building behind me in downtown Los Angeles. So we'll have much more. We'll see if prosecutors have more statements after that court hearing. Maybe we'll hear from the defendant's attorney. Either way, we'll be standing by for those possible developments. We'll send it back to you now in the studio.
So as he's set to appear today, we'll let you know later on the channel what the charges may be for Peter Tripp Aikman. We'll see what kind of charges federal prosecutors come up with regarding flying his drone into the fire plane over the Palisades.
All right, so let's look at Peter Aikman for a second here. Okay, there was a few things that happened in that story that don't ring true to me. I had a DJI drone that was the same size as the one that he supposedly was flying. And I did fly it a few times at the Bluffs when I bought it. And it was very soon after I got the drone that I stopped flying it at the Bluffs. And the reason that I stopped flying it at the Bluffs was because I realized how dangerous it was to fly there. What you have to understand about the DJI drone is that it does phone home. That is, it uses an app that's on your phone, and it knows where you are when you take off. And if you're trying to take a drone off within 5 miles of Los Angeles airport, it tells you that you shouldn't do that. And so most people don't do that. And in fact, the 5 mile line from Los Angeles airport is about 100 yards due south of the point at the Bluffs. That is, it's legal technically to fly a drone at the point of the Bluffs, but if you move any closer to LAX airport, it would be illegal. And the app tells you that when you're taking off, when you're taking off. So the idea that he would park his car at the 3rd Street Promenade and then send it several miles away to go look at the fire just smacks of complete incredulousness to me. I just frankly, I don't believe that. The second thing that is curious to me is that this guy was the president of Skydance Interactive, a dedicated subsidiary of Skydance Media. Skydance Media is owned or run by majority stockholder Larry Ellison's son. And Larry Ellison, of course, is the president, CEO, chairman of the board of Oracle, member of the World Economic Forum. So when I see this story, it makes me wonder whether or not this guy got tapped to volunteer that he was flying the drone that wound up taking the Super Scooper out, because I don't know, maybe they hit another drone and they need a cover story for that. I don't know that that's true. Okay, but this entire story smacks of incredulity to me. And Agent Medina, this is another card that I think that you need to go check out. All right, I'm gonna go look and see if there's any comments. Let me see. Somebody said that Larry Ellison is the buyer of Gabe Hoffman's home. Let's see. Wait, there was no screen showing? No screen showing. Okay, well, I'll put it up. When was the screen not showing? There we go. Add this. Okay. That's up. About the January 1st. What about the January 1st Lockman fire? The Lockman fire is this. I talked about that at the beginning. Anyway, don't look at my comments. Yeah, okay, great. All right, so here are the slides that I was going to show you. The slides that I was going to show you were Super Scooper, drone, Culver City man crashes, Fox News video,
Breaking news
Peter
out of
Aikman. And I apologize if you didn't see the slides, and I'm going to check myself now to make sure that you're seeing the slides. All right, here we go. I apologize for that. Okay, here we go. I'm flying by myself. I'm doing everything by myself here today, folks. All right. Let's talk about epistemological warfare. What is epistemological warfare? Epistemological warfare is a way to use words and definitions and how we know things to confuse people. Okay, so one way that you can do that is that you can flood the news with different types of linguistic ideas. You can flood them with double binds and lies and half-truths and conspiracy theories and false dichotomies and counterintelligence and rumors and memes and identitarian othering and cause effects and complex equivalencies and thought-terminating cliches. I call this strategy a castle keep strategy, and the way that it works is like this. You have level 1 lies, level 2 lies, and level 3 lies. You can actually have more than 3 levels, but for argument's sake, I'm going to, okay, I'm sorry, my slides. I'll let this build. You have level 1 lies, level 2 lies, and level 3 lies. And you're trying to hide the truth. Okay, so I'll give you some examples with COVID, and I'll give you some examples with the Pali fire, but I'm riffing here. Level 1 lie could be that the fires are wildfires. Level 2 lie could be that the plane hit a drone, and the level 3 lie could be that the plane hit Peter Ackman's drone. I don't think I'm doing a good job here. I'm going to move on to my next examples. Here's one that I thought out before I did. In the Palisades fire, the level 1 lie could be teenagers with fireworks. The level 2 lie would be government incompetence, and the level 3 lie would be climate change. These are the reasons why you would have a big out of control fire like this. When the reality of the situation is that it's a globalist coup d'etat of the state government of California, and it's a real estate development plan. And oh yeah, there might be some energy and oil drilling that you're going to do at the same time. That's the end of my presentation. And I'm going to throw it back to you guys now and ask you for questions. Because I'm not sure if you guys are connecting the same dots that I'm connecting, but if Agent Medina has a chance, or somebody on his team has a chance to go through this video, I've got links and references to all of this stuff, and I don't think that I'm going in the wrong direction, but I do think that I'm probably the only person who's reporting on this on the internet, and I'm sorry about any mistakes that I made in my presentation today. I'm doing this, with one foot. I don't even have any metaphors to use. So anyway, any questions? I'll go look at Rumble. I'm looking at YouTube and Twitter, and I don't see any. So let me go to Rumble and see if I can find any details. Let's see. No, I can't do that. All right. I'm not seeing any questions. There's a video of him. Somebody said it would be great to hear from the guy who saved his house with pool water. So on January 8th, when I was in the neighborhood at like 9:30, I met the guy. I should have interviewed him. I was in shock. I was not in my right mind. I'm still not in my right mind. But yeah, he told me that he used a hose. And when I was in the Upper Woodies, looking at the firemen standing there, if my wife weren't in the truck waiting for me, worried to death, and she had a lot to be worried about, I could have gone and put out all of the little fires that I saw, like by myself, right there. Like it wasn't a big deal. Like it wasn't. because the Upper Woodies had done a really, really good job of cutting the brush back. This is another big lie that gets told. California, Southern California, Los Angeles County has the most hardcore brush clearance laws in the world. And if you don't have your brush cleared by a certain date in LA County, they will send crews out to do it for you and send you a bill. Like they don't let you not clear your brush. The brush gets cleared in LA County. And that's just the deal. All right, so Arthur Stone says, great show. Sad circumstances, a paradigm shift of the same old story. Best wishes to the Dukes and George. Yeah, prayers, please, everybody. We need your prayers. We really need it. Black Rabbit is asking what public art comes to mind in the area. I don't know. George Wolfberg Park looks like a great way to do this. The Occidental drilling site, couldn't Occidental slide drill? Yes. Here's the thing. Gavin Newsom, 2022, if you start to dig on this, the state of California, 2022, passed a law that said that you're not allowed to drill offshore anymore. So they need to be able to drill onshore in the same oil field. You can drill onshore in the same oil field if you drill from the coastline. The place on the coastline to drill from would be George Wolfberg Park, which is conveniently like the weirdest park that you've ever seen in your life, because it's not a park, okay? It's a cleared area with a fence around it and dirt hiking trails, okay? It's the weirdest park you've ever seen. In fact, I probably can show it to you. Let me try that. Let me open a new window, go to Google Maps, go to 333. I don't mind giving my address away anymore. Oh, I should do this in Google Earth, but I can do it on Google Maps for now. Google Earth. What's better about Google Earth is Google Earth has historic imagery. So there's a slider that you can put on and you can drag the slider back and forth and you can show the historical imagery. So let me share Google Earth. I mean, Google Maps. So here's where I used to live. Okay. And this is George Wolfberg Park. So this was the drilling site right here. This was the Occidental Petroleum drilling site right here. This is where Banksy's elephant used to be right here. And this is George Wolfberg Park, which is supposed to be hiking trails and all this other stuff. But this is where they want to drill. This is where Occidental wants to drill. And now all of the people who organized to get rid of Occidental Petroleum don't have houses or a neighborhood anymore. And the California Coastal Commission and the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, I argue, or I hypothesize, are going to argue that they don't want anybody rebuilding them. And if you flip the government of the state of California and then you get rid of things like the pesky Proposition O, and you replace all of these homes with a park and a state-controlled area, and you force most of these people into some kind of high-rises in Santa Monica or something like that, then you can start drilling your oil again. I don't know. I'm guessing here. I'm spitballing. But Agent Medina, are you looking at Occidental Petroleum? Are you looking at the connections between Occidental Petroleum and the Gettys? Are you looking at any of these things? Are you looking at Steve Soberoff's connections to the Berggruen Institute and the fact that the Berggruen Institute has been, I mean, arguably, this is treason. This is espionage. This is a high crime against the state of against the people of the United States of America and the citizens of the state of California. This is treason. That's what we're talking about, and that's why I hope that if there's anybody in federal investigation, whether or not it's the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the FBI, or the Department of Homeland Security, that you're looking at this with the seriousness that I am. And I'm trying to do this at the same time that I'm homeless and that I'm dealing with many of my friends being hospitalized or on the edge of hospitalization with PTSD. With that, I'm going to tell you that if you like this content and you want to support my work, you can go to thedukeport.com/buymeacoffee, and you can put in as many copies as you want. There was a page on thedukeport.com/support. If you go there, I think that page probably still works. It's the homepage on the Duke Report that's broken right now. Otherwise, you can become a member. You can become a paying member on the Substack. Most of my content is free at this point because I want as many people to read it as possible. And if you have not watched Palmerston Zoo, if you have not read my article about the Doge and my article about liberty and epistemological warfare, my article about fasci and what fascism really is and how it relates to liberty and what liberty really is, then you're not going to have a good frame for understanding what I'm talking about. So I'm giving it away for anybody who wants it. If you appreciate it, please become a paying member on my Substack. Buy subscriptions for other people. You can buy subscriptions for other people if you want them to be able to understand. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to contextualize current events in the most organized possible way for people who are using their critical thinking skills. I'm not asking you to vote Team A or Team B. Like, I don't care about that. I don't care if you like Trump or hate Trump. I'm neutral on Trump. I'm looking at what Trump does. I'm not listening to what Trump says. So if Cash Patel wants to follow up on my leads, go for it, buddy. Like, I'm good with you. All right. But that said, if you're not using your critical thinking skills, if you're not applying logos, which is our gift from God that allows the words to leave my lips, go into the microphone on this computer that I'm sitting in front of, come out of the speaker that you're listening to, and turn into ideas in your head. If you're not using your logos, if you're just picking a team, oh, I like Trump, oh, I don't like Trump, like you're not thinking. I'm asking people to think. I'm asking Agent Medina, think. I'm asking Cash Patel, think. Cash, don't tweet wildfire anymore. It's not a wildfire. Let's use our critical thinking skills to apply our logos, to ask the questions who, what, where, why, when, to think about why or how all of these things can happen outside of the frame of that idiot box that has people wearing ties and great haircuts. Okay. I don't have a tie on. I don't have a great haircut. I'm sitting in a shit apartment in San Diego. My wife is in a hospital. My good friend George is in a hospital. And I am asking for you to think. I'm asking for you to pray. And if you have the resources, please help me support this channel. Otherwise, I don't know where this world is going to go. But in any case, I've been going for 2 hours and 37 minutes now. I'm going to call it a day. I'm sorry if I was talking about slides that weren't on the screen. I will try to post all of this stuff as a Substack in a coherent manner in the next couple of days. And somebody, Enfold, says, who is Agent Medina? Agent Medina is at the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, who is in charge of investigating the cause of the Palisades fire. And I hope and pray that he's not involved in just a limited hangout, Warren Commission style whitewash that's going to say, oh, it's teenagers playing with fireworks that just happened to go the exact same location 1 week apart, and a location that might have been predicted using World Economic Forum software called Fire Aid, which happens to have the same name as a concert series that they put up within days of the fires being burned down. And all of these people closely associated with the Berggruen Institute, intimately involved with the reconstruction of the Pacific Palisades. That if you can follow up, some people say it's a conspiracy. I say it's coincidental. I'm a coincidence theorist. You can buy coincidence theorist t-shirts at the dukeport.com/shop. Shameless plug. But in any case, Ron Peterson is the smartest guy here. He says, I don't have a TV. Good for you, Ron. I don't either. With that, I'm going to say hasta luego, and I hope all of you have a great evening. Pray, think, and contribute if you can. Thanks, everybody. Bye.